Alright, boring bar Carnage. Got some of the boring bar in there. Got some more of the boring bar in here. Nasty, dirty parts of the boring bar. We got empty gearbox in here. They used to be full of gears. Now it's only got one left. I had to take quite a bit of stuff out of here to get the damaged gear out. Now that I know how to do it, it wouldn't be hard. Comes to find out, and you know, when I start these projects, I always find out that I end up learning more about it than I ever really cared to, unfortunately. So I did a little more digging on this thing. Like I said, I bought it several years ago, at least 10 years ago, maybe 12, I don't remember. And it's worked pretty well through that time. But anyway, this is a 1948 Kwik-Way Model F. Apparently, Kwik-Way never made actual repair manuals for it. They made operator manuals. The operator manuals do have a parts blow up in them, but it's a, they call them plates, and it's basically just a picture of all the gears and the shafts, everything lined out. It really doesn't show you the order in which anything goes together. It really doesn't lend a lot of insight into how it's made. So I did track down a guy who helped me out quite a bit. I'm going to go pick up a used partial Model FT. He thinks the guts on the FT are the same as the guts that are in here. We're going to check it out and see, and if it is, of course, I'll buy it, bring it back, I'll get the parts to fix this one. Anyway, Kwik-Way did not make an actual repair manual, so I had to wing a lot of this, but this guy I found on the internet gave me some instruction via email. Followed the instructions. Basically, the couple parts I was having a hard time with came apart, and we got the damage out. And here is the biggest part of the damage. And I'm sure you could see what this is. The drive end of this gear broke off. These gears are pinned to the shaft with taper pins. And looking at this one, it looks to me like this thing has been cross-drilled twice for tapers. Let me show you why I think so. Okay, you could see obviously right here, there was a taper pin in there. And somewhere along the line, I don't know what happened, it broke or fell out, I don't know what. And if you look right here, there's a little bit of a half roundy area left. So I think there was another taper pin that had been put in this direction. And of course one in this direction. When I bought this thing, I took this cover off to you know, check it out inside, see what was going on in there, and you know, scrape 50 years worth of sludge out of it and put clean oil in it. And I saw that there was a crack around one of these. I don't remember which one, but there was a little divot broken out. The pin was in, it seemed like it was holding, I didn't want to mess with it. Well, you know, here I am 12 years later, and I pulled this cover off again just to, you know, kind of see what's going on in there. And I'll put a couple pictures on there. What I saw initially was on the there's a shaft that goes right in through here, and this bushing, yeah, this bushing is oriented this way in the bottom of the case, and you could see right here this crack. Well, when I looked in the hole, that's what I saw first. I thought, oh shit, that's not good. And indeed, it's not good. So that caused me to do a little deeper looking. And, you know, of course, I discovered this gear next. Anyway, boring bar Carnage. I got a bunch of shit to clean up. I got a long drive tomorrow to go try to buy another one of these things. I'll give you a little more detail when I start putting it back together again. See you later. Bye. Well, in order to get the K model project back on track, I got to get the boring bar project back on track. And as it so happens, a couple of years ago I ran into some minor problems, and I ended up talking to this guy, Craig Coder, Coder Parts and Supply LLC, the U.S. and international distributor for Kwik-Way parts these days. And as it so happens, he lives in Mineola, Texas, which is about 100 miles from my house. So He didn't have new gears, of course, for this thing because the machine was produced in 1948. But what he did have was a used machine. A used machine that is ending up being the sacrificial parts buggy for this particular machine that I'm working on. I want to give a real hats off and shout out to Craig Coder by bailing me out on this thing. Anyway, a real hats off and shout out to Craig. The machine he sold me isn't exactly the same model, but it's going to work. And this is what I decided to do. Here's the shaft that came out of the old machine. It's got a little bit of a step in it over here. And I think that's because it probably got dicked up and probably got turned down just to smooth it off. I'm going to change the shaft with the one that came out of the donor machine. It was a little scored up on both ends. Put it in the lathe, polished it up with some sandpaper and some crocus cloth. The other thing I decided to do was to just change all the gears that came on this shaft. And the reason for that is this. These are taper pins. And if these taper pins weren't drilled exactly center, and if they didn't quite line up with the holes in the old shaft, several things could happen, all of which are bad. They could get loose and fall out. When you're driving them in, I could crack the new gears. So I thought it was best to use the gears that came on this shaft. Plus the old shaft was dicked up and it just wouldn't work too well. So here are the bushings. This is a replacement for the bushing that was cracked that instigated this whole project. I just chamfered the edge a little bit to drive it in. So I'm not going to show you all that work because I just can't work on something and video it at the same time. So anyway, these are the parts. Changing all the gears, now you know why. The other reason I'm changing the gears is these holes are quite a bit bigger than the holes in these gears. These are supposed to be number one taper pins, and by accident I happen to have a number one taper pin reamer, and the number one taper pin reamer does not go all the way through these holes. It falls short. It does go through all of these holes. So I don't want to ream these out so big, it just isn't necessary. I got pins that'll work, I got a shaft that'll work, and I got bushings that'll work. So let's put this together and see what happens. Alright, I'm going to try to give you a little synopsis. This has turned out to be a giant pain in the balls. The bushing at the bottom of this shaft was cracked. So I decided I wanted to fix that. And I decided I needed to get this shaft out of the way. So I knocked out this taper pin. I knocked out this taper pin. I could then slide these two gears back and forth on the shaft, and I exposed the taper pin for this gear, only to find that the gear was broken out around the taper pin boss. So I decided to replace the gear. A simple thing, you would think. I was able to get the shaft out, but this gear was held captive by this shaft. So I had to get this shaft out. There's no visible way that I could see to get the shaft out. And let me tell you, the shaft had moved back and forth just a little tiny bit, like a 50 thousandths of an inch or whatever. So I took this off to see if there was a pin or something in there staking it. There was nothing. I scraped all the paint off of this to see whether there was a pin or a set screw or something. There was nothing. I took the pulley down at the other end off to see if there was something there holding it up, and there wasn't. Well, that got me a little concerned. What I ended up finding out was that there's a secret screw behind all of this contraption. And this contraption is the hold down clamp. So I had to take this out. But before I could take this out, I had to take off this little tin cheesy guard. Well, the screws were buried behind the boring head. So I had to take the boring head off. So here was where we're at. You remove the boring head. You remove the cheesy screws. You get the guard off. You monkey around with the set screw in here and the mechanism for this thing. All this shit slides out that way. Once you get that shit out of the way, the secret cover plate. And there you have it, the secret screw. Take the secret screw out, the entire drive shaft comes out of the machine. Once you got the drive shaft out of the machine, the target gear comes out and exposes the mechanism you want to work on. So let's do a little look around over here just so you get an idea of the magnitude of this project. Notice all the crap laying on my bench. Notice all the crap all the way down to there. That pretty much all has something to do with this boring machine project. Bins of crap over here. Another goddamn boring machine over there. Electric tools, Dremel tool, cords on the floor, more boring bar parts. Over here, more boring bar parts. Over here, more boring bar parts. So I got boring bar parts up the ass. I got a tremendous mess I got to clean up. I got crap everywhere. I ended up taking pretty near the whole damn machine apart to get to the one gear I wanted to get out of there. I've done a lot of cleaning up on it, and I actually bought a can of red paint. I might repaint the sumbitch. Hopefully the next time you see this thing, it'll be back together, boring cylinders like it's supposed to.
And there you have it. My two favorite words, suck and cess. Let's go bore some cylinders next week and get this K-model project done. I am out of here. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.